Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Victory Talk. I'm about to mess up. It's been a minute, y'all, since I opened up. I'm messing up. It's your girl Key, y'all. Happy Friday. What I was about to say, I'm Lady J. I don't know what I was about to say. I am here with my co-host, Lady J, is in the building. Hey, y'all. Yes, and we have another exciting episode, an educational episode this evening. It is our Fit for Life show. We will be talking about something, a topic that is very serious tonight, you guys. So grab whatever it is that you need to prepare for the show. If you want to grab something to jot down some notes, you want to grab your iPad, this is really good stuff. This is important information. Every one of us has a man, a father, an uncle, a son, a little brother, a cousin, a nephew, somebody who needs to hear this information. So we are ready to get rolling. I'm going to kick it over to our girl Shay so she can say good evening to everybody and introduce our guest for tonight. And you're muted, Shay. You're on mute, Shay.
Good evening, everyone. I am Shay Brown. You all know me. I am the CEO and founder of SBB Fit for Life. In our Fit for Life company, we mostly help out with, we mostly deal with preventative interventions with people, obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes. Today, we're going to talk about something that I don't think that we have even touched on before. We are focusing on this whole entire month on our men. We are going to be talking about prostate cancer today. Today we have a survivor that is with us today. An expert, of course, I am not the expert, but I do see men that do have prostate issues. And there are a lot of things that I want to discuss with you guys today, to where having a specialist is always a good thing. But just the basic knowledge. I mean, sometimes the specialist can really take us really on out there. So we're going to try and keep it home. Be able to explain prostate cancer, related conditions that are associated with prostate cancer, a lot of things that a lot of men might not think is an alarm. So we're going to discuss a lot of those things tonight. But tonight, I want my guest to introduce himself and tell you guys a little bit about himself. I met him about a couple of weeks ago. And it just so happened that, this was something that was just meant to be. He was taking pictures at a family gathering at my in-laws. And I could have sworn he was following me around, because every time I turned around, he had the camera, he was clicking. So me, I strike it home. Every time he had that camera, but he wasn't taking pictures of me, which I thought that he was. He was just taking pictures of everybody, but I made sure I stopped and posed for him every chance I got. But as I was talking to my brother-in-law, he mentioned to me that, hey, look, our camera guy, he did have prostate cancer, So we introduced ourselves to each other, and he agreed to come on our show to talk about his experience. And I think it's so important to have someone that actually who has had prostate cancer, to be able to explain this to a lot of our men, to where they would be a little bit more adherent to their own physical conditions. So we're going to let him introduce himself and tell you about himself and what he does as a living. All right, Lee.
Firstly, good evening, ladies. Happy Friday. And I'm Robert Lee.
I sound a little bit more enthused that it's Friday now.
I know. I don't know if I can match. I'm one guy, 4 women. I don't know if I can match that much. I'll give it a shot. Right.
Listen, I think you can do better than that, because backstage, when you was talking about going to see Patti LaBelle, you had the wings flapping and everything. So you can give us some energy now.
In about 3 hours. Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I totally agree with Shay that this is something that men do not like talking about. I'm just be totally blunt. And I'll say all the opinions that I give, they're my personal experience and my opinions. It's not a blanket statement or something that's coming from somewhere else. But around the time I retired from the Air Force, which was 2008, I had my first prostate exam. They said I had slight swelling. It was nothing to really worry about. You might want to check on it some years down the line. Then I retired, got a nice job, and totally forgot about it, for several years. And from there, I was diagnosed when I went to start college, and I was down to 0% just this last 3 weeks ago. I went through radiation treatment, 45 straight days. And it was simultaneous when I was going back to school. So it was really, it was a different experience, eye-opening experience. And I'm blessed to be here, and I understand the magnitude of that blessing.
So, Lee, when you said that you had a prostate exam, how old were you?
At that time, 55 down. So that was roughly early 40s, around 42, 43.
Okay, so that's when you had that. Now, did they check your PSA levels, or did they?
At that time, like I said, at that time, it was more of a retirement exam. So they basically let me know and told me to nothing to be alarmed about, but to keep an eye on. But I know now when it comes to your body, as soon as they bring your attention to it, it's something that you really need to stay focused on.
Yeah.
Now, how did they detect it?
Excuse me?
How did they detect the swelling when you was 40? How did they detect it? Did they do a physical
basic prostate exam, like I said, and he said my PSA numbers were slightly inflated, but again, it was nothing serious at that time.
So the prostate exam could either be an exam to where they do rectally, or
exactly.
Did they do it rectally and check your PSA levels?
Right. It was rectally at that time, and then once I had a permanent physician, then it was periodic at that point. But that was like 6 or 7 years later.
Okay, so what I want the audience to understand that prostate cancer is a slow-growing disease, cancer. Okay, it grows very slowly. And as Lee just mentioned, he was like in his 40s, just turning 40, I hope, early 40s. And he was getting out of the Air Force, and they said that his PSA levels were slightly elevated. And as he had the prostate exam, they felt just slight inflammation with that. So just keep an eye on something like that is what they tell us to do. Now, when you started, what alarmed you? That's the question, because I'm going to get into signs and symptoms. But I want to hear what your signs and what your initial ones were. Or did you just go for a physical and then the doctor was like, well, I'm going to check your PSA levels? Because with me and the men that I see that come in to have wellness exams, I don't do the rectal exams on them unless they want me to. I have no problem doing that. But a lot of men is like, oh, no, you're not doing that. But I mean, this is the human anatomy. It's the body. I really don't like, it's something that I know that I need to check. So these are things we go in any orifices of the body. We don't care where it's at to make sure that our patients are safe. And please understand that when a doctor is checking you for prostate, trust me, it's no joy or the doctors know. We are really serious about making sure that prostate that we're feeling for it is not inflamed. We want to make sure it's not boggy. We want to make sure it's not hard. We want to make sure that we can barely feel it at all, okay? So when you talk about how you went through radiation, what initially started that?
I made the decision to go back to school full-time at UMBC, and physical is a part of that process. So, I went thinking nothing of it. I'll get in here, I'll leave, no big deal. And they said that my PSA levels were really, really elevated. So talked to my physician, my veterans physician. He said the same thing, and they let me know basically that I need to go see, go to an actual doctor and get, really treated. So I went to Baltimore Veterans Hospital, and then that's when it really set in that, okay, I need to go through treatment. I actually have cancer, and this is very serious. So me going to school, which was the priority, all of a sudden slipped to the back burner. And one quick point. Yes, I'm sitting here talking about this today in 2021. There's no way I would do this in 2000, 2008.
Right.
So the times are way more progressive. I think men are more open about talking about different things, and hopefully that can be used to bring some of these, insane numbers down.
Now, he just mentioned something about PSA, and I did as well. Now, if you ever go to the doctor and the doctor's going to check you, that is the word or the abbreviations that you want to remember. It's called a PSA. I'm not going to tell you what PSA means, just PSA. If I even tell you, you won't remember it anyway. But understand that that number has to be less than 0.04. Okay? Or just remember it has to be less than the number 4. All right? But the decimal has to be before it. Okay, it cannot be 4.0. No, the decimal has to be on the left side of that number, not on the right side of the number. Okay, you want it to be less than 1, less than 0.4. Okay, guys, that PSA you want it to be less. So when he said his numbers were sky high, I mean, you have to think about that because prostate cancer comes in 4 stages.
Wow,
it comes in 4 stages. So when they say his levels were high, you have to ask yourself, was he in stage 1, 2, 3, or 4? Now,
can I jump in there really quickly before you move forward, Lee? What my question to you, my first question that I have is, you mentioned them saying, that it was enlarged when around retirement age, and then fast forward to you enrolling in school. How much time, kind of passed in between, and were you followed by, a doctor all this time? Because I know that on a personal level, my father has prostate cancer, and his is kind of being watched, and it's been being just watched over time because it's not doing anything. So when they first noticed that it was enlarged, did they say, hey, we need to bring you in every however much time and keep an eye on this, or what was happening exactly? Because you go from, the enlargement just to it being out of control. I'm trying to figure out what happened.
I guess the wording was, when they said it to me, it was slight swelling. So to me, in my head, if I'm trying to belittle the whole situation, slight swelling is practically nothing. That's what I'm trying to tell myself.
Okay. So
as time went on, I'm transitioning out of the military. So now you're switching doctors, healthcare, and starting a new job as well. So I have 4 kids, my children are in school. You just tend to just go forward with life. And in the military, you have to go get a physical. You have to do different things. They let you know when it is. If you don't go, you have to go talk to someone. Once you retire, that's all on you. And that's a transition that, I totally understand now. But at that point, I was more about, I got my good government job, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I was pressing forward. So.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense then. You go ahead, Shay.
Now, do understand, what made him check his prostate? Did he just do it on his own? Did he just do it on his own? Seriously, think about what made him check his prostate. The first time, God showed him as he retired.
yes.
The second time, God showed him, bro, look, you talking about going to school. This is what I got. This is what's going on with you now. He didn't do this on his own. And this is the issue that we're having with a lot of our African-American men. That's the issue. They let this go. Not saying that you let it go, Lee, but you did say they told you about it when you was in your 40s. Now that you've turned, it didn't hit you again if you went back and got your physical.
Hey, I'm totally honest and open. My daughters pressed me to go to the appointment. I did not want to go. I did not tell anybody. I kept it a secret. Ego, pride, all those things play into it. Yeah, I'm dad. I'm supposed to be taking care of everybody else's problems. I'm supposed to be providing for everyone else. Yeah. It's not supposed to be the other way around. Yeah. So in my head, it's not only that I don't necessarily have this, but there's no way I can have this right now. I got too much other stuff. And that's how you psychologically just, press forward until. Yeah. Another thing is it's undetectable. I felt I was losing weight and I was slightly getting weaker. And then that was around the time that I had the exam. And then that's when, everything, all the dominoes fell. My father had it. Our uncle that passed away, he was the same age that I am right now. And he passed, roughly 11 years ago. So, all those signs were there. But again, you don't want to see that. I can't deal with that. I'm too busy. And it's more of that. So I wouldn't say it's neglect, but it's most definitely my mind being in other places too. So, there's no excuse for it though. You got to get taken care of. And, I'm blessed that I have family. Most definitely my daughter said, what day are we going? I'm taking the day off work. We're going down here to the hospital. She asked most of the questions of the doctors and the nurses. She had all the paperwork when we got back. She called my parents. So she's the one to include everyone in and say, hey, this is serious. Yeah. He needs to go ahead and take care of this. And that's when I had to really pray, humble myself and say, you know what? This is what's most important right now. This is me being there for my kids. Right. It's not necessarily about, moral support or money or that type of stuff. My presence is important, for them as well. And that means me taking care of me.
Yeah. We did, as we were doing our research, we came to the realization that prostate cancer is the most common cancer amongst men. At that after skin cancer, but it can often be treated successfully. Prostate cancer begins when cells in the prostate gland start to grow out of control. And so we kind of realized that we found a partial list of prominent men who have been treated for this disease, which includes actor Robert De Niro, politician John Kerry, former Secretary of State Colin Powell, singer Harry Belafonte, and notable men who've also died from prostate cancer. They include, the list is like Dennis Hopper, Bill Bixby, guitarist Johnny Ramone, poet Langston Hughes, and even an activist, Stokely Carmichael. And let us not forget Merv Griffin, the talk show host. So my question is, as common as it is, do you think that it is more so a lack of education or fear that cause men in general to shy away from getting tested? This is a question to either of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I go back to what I said before. For a lot of guys, going back, let's say a lot has happened in these last 10 years as far as progress, as far as men being more open about, everyone being more open about who they are, what they're about. So that's more of an option now. But when I was in the military, no, you wouldn't dare come out and you wouldn't even say you had a prostate exam back then. You'd be apprehensive to even say that. Mm-hmm. So just to say that you actually have prostate cancer, it's rare that you find out someone has it while they're still here. You'll find out either after they dealt with it or after they passed away from it. Mm-hmm. It's rare you know before. And I was really closed-lipped about it, but me opening up is what got the wheels rolling and got, me getting the treatment and get past it.
Now, Lee, do you have sons?
I have a son, yes. And I talk to him about it all the time. And yeah, okay. He's in his early 30s. You got to start getting checked now. You can't wait.
Yeah, especially with a family history. Yeah, for sure.
We're talking that's 3 generations that it's hit directly.
Right, right.
And if you look at African American men, we're twice as likely. That's the other really disheartening part about it. When you walk into a room and there are like 7 or 8 other brothers in there, and it's almost in your mind, you get into the whole Miss Evers boys, is this some kind of setup? And some people just walk out the door, hey, I don't even want to deal with this. You did this to me. That's some of the mentality too. So, it's most of it is between your ears, in my opinion. I think my stress, my weight loss, it was me trying to deal with the situation more so than my condition itself.
And now that you're mentioning some of the symptoms that you had, let's talk about symptoms a little bit, because I heard you mention, that you started to lose weight. And so we researched and saw that some of the symptoms include things like difficulty starting urination, like maybe that feeling that you have to go, but then, you can't really go. Weak interrupted flow of urine, frequent urination, especially at night, pain or burning, pain in the back, hips, or pelvis that doesn't go away, and difficulty emptying the bladder completely. So did you have like any of those other warning signs before you started to lose weight and you were just kind of like, not paying attention to them, or did you not really notice?
None of the pain. I didn't have any pain. Definitely, as far as going to the bathroom at night, constantly to the point that you're barely getting sleep. Absolutely, that was a big deal. You got to watch where you are. I was working a job where sometimes it's third shift, second shift. You know, all of a sudden, a quick ride to work, you got to make sure you stop and go to the bathroom. And again, we're talking about ego. You know, urinating on yourself is not something you want to do.
Yeah.
Period. So
right.
That's another thing. You know, all of it, you kind of shut yourself off because you're so focused on hiding on, you know, what you're dealing with. You know, so I mean, for me, that was the biggest part of it. As far as my weight, I was really heavy at that time. I was like 265, 270. So I'm like, I had just started going back to school. I'm going back and forth to classes. So I'm thinking that's the weight loss. But then when I could halfway get to a class and I had to sit down just to walk across the campus, because you know how big these college campuses are.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I was like, okay, there's really something going on. But I'd already started treatment.
So before we go too far from where we were briefly, I just want to double back because I know that Key, your dad has prostate cancer and your grandfather passed from prostate cancer. And then Lee, I heard you say that some of your family members as well. So my question is, and maybe this is to Shay, is this genetically? Are we talking, if one generation, 2 generations, it's likely to travel? You know, is it in the genes?
It definitely is something that is genetic. Most of these diseases and illnesses, I often say, like, if you have high blood pressure, if your family has high blood pressure and diabetes, doesn't mean that you have to have it too. If that's a choice. Prostate cancer is one of those things to where if your father had it or if your grandfather had it, then you know what? You need to be in the office for us to be checking you out. There's something that you cannot avoid. So absolutely, it is something that is genetic and is passed down the line. Yes. Now, so there's no avoid.
Shay, so is this something similar to like breast cancer? Because I know, like, if you have family members, if there's a history of breast cancer in your family, they start checking you early. They start at the age of 30. Right. Yes. They start, but do they not do the same thing with prostate cancer?
Most definitely, yes, because most of the times when we check someone's PSA levels, they're either 50 or over the age of 55. At that time, it could be too late.
Right.
So what we do, knowing that you have a family history or a grandfather or father that had prostate cancer, we start checking you early because you heard him just say he got checked at the age of 40. Again, we normally don't check until 50 to 55. Okay, but just by him having a physical in the military, it showed that his prostate was inflamed. And 15 years later, prostate cancer, it presented itself. So yes.
Lee, you had your hand up. You were going to jump in there.
Yeah, I was just going to say in regard to when you talk about women, you know, the world is so open to women and what's going on with their bodies and health that, yeah, it was no problem with breast exams. It was kind of forced on you guys. Yeah, you're going to do it. The commercials were on TV and everything. With men, it's the polar opposite. It's really closed mouth. It's really hush hush. And you're not going to see that commercial on TV.
Absolutely.
All right? That's not going to happen. And even now, you barely see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about, go ahead, Shay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
I wanted to talk about risk factors. All men are at risk for prostate cancer. We realize that. But out of every 100 American men, about 13 will get prostate cancer during their lifetime, according to some, research that we were doing. And about 2 to 3 men will die from prostate cancer. The most common risk factor is age. The older a man is, the greater the chance of getting prostate cancer. You are at an increased risk of getting or dying from prostate cancer if you are African American male or have a family history of prostate cancer. So we were just talking about that. So my question is, we know that some people have a family history, but that's not always the case. Is that correct? Can you share a background, is, a story that you know about Shay, or, something in relation to that?
Yeah, when you look at that, and say for instance someone was adopted, okay, beautiful example. They don't know who their father is, they don't know who their mother is. Only thing they know is that they're adopted. To be examined, and he's telling me things like, things that are related to prostate cancer. Can you guys hear me? Because I thought my screen froze.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, things that are related to prostate cancer. He could say, Shay, you know what? I'm starting to have like difficulty urinating, the doctor diagnosed me with this thing we call benign prostatic hyperplasia. That's when, you have like, it's an age-related gland, and it's an enlargement of your prostate, but it's not prostate cancer, okay? Those are things that you start to look for. Also, the guy can have like frequent urinary tract infections. Men don't have urinary tract infections, okay? They have and I want to say it's called urethra, but I call it the tube that allows them to pee, okay? We women get urinary tract infections because our tube is shorter than theirs, okay? So when you see a man that's having like flank pain in his back, on the side, he's coming in with frequent UTIs, that's another bulb that pops into our heads to be like, you know what, let me just check your PSA levels just to see. They could have like really lower abdominal pelvic pain, saying that, my lower abdomen hurts. It could be their bladder. Okay, we look at all these signs and symptoms that they bring to us. I mean, they can have an overactive bladder. They can have like inflammation of their tube, of their urethra. Another thing that a lot of men don't even think about is one that men have all the time. It's called atherosclerosis. That's when you have an increase of plaque built up in your body, is built up of fats, cholesterols, and any other substances that will clog your arteries. Cigarette smoking, all those things, okay, that puts a light bulb on in us. All these things, they come with age. So as we're checking these things, we have a man that has high cholesterol, a man with UTI. I'm definitely going to check his PSA levels, even if he's not of that age, because I want to make sure I rule it out. It's always good to play on the side of caution, because you cannot detect prostate cancer in young men. You have to look at the symptoms and you have to look at the signs. So if a young man comes to me and he said he's been adopted, he don't know who his father is, and he's coming in with some of those things that I'm talking about right now, I will definitely do a PSA level, okay? Because I want to rule it out. And if he allows me, I will check his prostate as well. But it's always good, and this is the way we all work. We have to play on the side of caution. I'd rather do this exam and say that at least I know it's not that, and then I can look for something else and give him a diagnosis of something else besides what I'm thinking it could be his prostate, okay? I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it did.
It did, and that actually, honestly, is good information just for people to have in general too, because oftentimes we go to the doctors and we're not honest with our doctors, and we leave stuff out. You know what I mean? We will tell them bits and pieces, or we forget. And so it's important to, not only be upfront and honest, but if you're going through something, jot it down, while it's happening, because then by the time you get to the doctor, you may leave out something that is crucial. We know for ourselves, just in researching things, if you Google pain in my head, there's like 100,000 different, things that pop up, and you're just like, oh Lord, I'm dying, because it's, you know what I mean? And so I think that, it helps them to narrow down more quickly, and to look for or pinpoint certain things that might pop out. So yeah, that is an excellent point.
Yeah.
And
one
so,
of the questions that,
go ahead.
Let me jump in here a second. One of the questions that I want to get some clarity on, because I know that, again, talking about, referring back to breast cancer, if you're of a certain age and you really don't have any family history, or any real concern, say you just found a lump or whatever, and you go and you get checked or whatever, does insurance have play a factor in men getting checked, finding out? Because a lot of times, if you don't have any background or history, just because you found something, if there's nothing supporting it, your insurance company won't pay for it. So does that?
No, they won't pay for that,
Right.
Jackie. They won't. But the way that we get around that as physicians, what we do, we will difficulty urinating. We will put something in there that insurance company will have to say, well, you know what? We got to get that tested. Or if there's nothing at all and the person, I'm sorry.
Shay, hypothetically speaking, that's what you would do.
Well,
But any insurance folks out there listening, hypothetically.
Yeah. My job is to take care of my patients, period.
Yes,
I know that's right.
But yes, hypothetically speaking, but sometimes patients, they do have those things.
Yeah.
But they don't, oh God, yeah, that makes sense with it. So we have to try and pull things out, just like, Lee said, that people don't come up with that. They don't tell you about these things. We have to pull them out. So if you're getting up and going to the bathroom, which we call that at night with nocturia, if you're getting up constantly going to the bathroom, there's another light bulb. Saying that you're having pelvic pain. I mean, light bulb. Everything that I mentioned earlier, I will definitely ask all my patients all those questions. And if they're just coming and say they just want their prostate checked, and they're 30 years old, no family history, I will tell them, hey, look, I can do your PSA levels, but the insurance company will not pay for it. But there is something that I can do. I can do a rectal exam to see if your prostate is inflamed, if it's boggy or whatever have you. I can do that, but a lot of them, they won't do that, but some men will. Okay, and that's the way you can get around the insurance company, because that's a physical exam.
Okay.
One that I
It's
have
covered.
Yeah, that's covered. Yeah.
That's covered.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
All right,
Key,
so
I'm
let's
sorry.
talk about screening a little bit. So one of the ways to, do the screening is to have a biopsy done. And for those of you who are tuning in that maybe are not sure what a biopsy is, it's when a small piece of tissue is removed from the area and looked at under a microscope to see if there are cancer cells. So a biopsy, it's stating, is the main tool for diagnosing prostate cancer, but a doctor can use other tools to help make sure the biopsy is made in the right place. So let's talk a little bit about, we talked about the physical examination, but let's talk about some of the ultrasounds and things that are doing, the sonograms or the transrectal ultrasounds, because I must admit some of this stuff, as I was researching, sounds a little painful, and we want to put this out there so that way for people who may be apprehensive about, getting these tests done for fear of, pain and stuff like that, they'll be able to be a little bit more educated on it. So this is for either one of you guys. Can you walk us through, what those types of things, like Lee, did you have to do any type of ultrasounds or biopsies or anything?
I literally started to cringe when you brought that back up. I had forgotten about that. But yes, I had to do a biopsy.
Oh, so maybe we don't want to tell about it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's the reality. I mean, there's nothing fun about it. It's not a game. I mean, if it's painful, then you got to go deal with the pain and get it done. Would I ever want to go through it again? No, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
So, and again, all these different phobias and fears, and most of it is right here. It's right here in our heads.
And then, Key, you also have to think about what stage that person is actually in. Okay? Mm-hmm. You have, like I said, stages go through 1 through 4. And these ultrasounds, they look to see how much the cancer or the tumor or the whatever it is, how fast it's growing. Mm-hmm. So when you look at a person that's like, say for instance, I don't know which stage you were in, Lee, but prostate, if you have prostate cancer and you're like in the first stage, stage 1, that can mean that you might have like a small bit of cancer that's on one side of the prostate. I don't think we ever talked about where the prostate is actually located, did we?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
All right. As long as we talk about that as well.
You can go ahead while you're on it.
Now, we're going to talk about the stages because I don't want to get too far off
Okay.
my mindset. And then you have the second stage, which means that the cancer is staying confined within the prostate gland itself. Okay. So stage 1 and stage 2 is mostly treatable with medication. All right. Now, he sounded like he had. Okay. When you have prostate cancer in the stage 1 and 2, sometimes it's more surgical, just going in and just remove it. Okay, and that's done through laparoscopy. That's those little devices where they put a hole here, put a hole there, and they do it through a machine, and then they just remove it. All right, you're totally under, guys. You don't know what's going on, but when you wake up, the cancer is going to be gone. But you have to do follow-up screenings as well. Okay, they may have you go through a little bit of radiation after that just to make sure it has not gone anywhere. Then you have the third stage. That means that the cancer has totally advanced. That's when people may be having more of the signs and symptoms presenting themselves. Then they're going to go to the doctor. Not in stage 1 and stage 2. They go when it's stage 3, almost close to stage 4. All right. Now, stage 4 is the one you don't ever want to be in. That was the one that my father was in. Okay. My father died of prostate cancer that metastasized to his bones. Okay. Now, stage 4 prostate cancer is out of control. Okay. At that point, they're talking about doing chemo, radiation, trying to remove it, but you can't remove it at that point because it's already metastasized, means it's traveled through your lymph nodes. And it's in your bloodstream now, and it's going throughout your whole entire body. Once the cancer leaves that localized point and it starts to travel throughout the rest of your body, there's only but so much that doctors can do. So if the doctor's saying, I mean, when I found out my father had prostate cancer and it was stage 4, I knew it was over, but the doctor said it, but I knew it was over. He lived about another good 2 years. Okay. And then he was gone. But I knew that it was over, but I didn't want to tell my siblings that. Once it travels through the body, it's very hard to contain it because then cancer is traveling to your lungs, your heart, your brain, your other organs that can cause cancer somewhere else. You can have prostate cancer, then you can get lung cancer from the prostate. Then you can get brain cancer from the lung and prostate. Cancer travels. So if the doctor is telling you that, we can get this under control, no. And I'm not just saying it because my father died. I'm saying it because that's something that I do know. So stage 4 is never a good thing. All right, stage 3, you better work hard, better work fast, get it going. All right.
Wow. So since we're talking about, the different stages and whatever, let's talk about the different types of treatment that are available for prostate cancer. Listen, you just said something that just messed up my whole mind, and so now I'm tongue-tied. I'm trying to get myself together because there's some stuff going on, within our lives, and
I'm sorry.
It's just, so that just, something you just said, whew. Okay, God. So let's talk about the treatments. You and your doctor will decide which treatment is right for you in most common cases, right? So, but we know that, we would like to, do the management. If your doctor thinks that, stage 1 or stage 2 and it can be managed. I heard you say something about medicine, can be controlled with medicine, but excuse me, active surveillance, closely monitoring it, watching your PSAs and, tests and, biopsies and that nature, watchful waiting. I didn't really kind of connect with the watchful waiting because it's as if, right.
I'm laughing because when I told you that they were doing that with my dad, you were like, what? huh? Like, why? So that's why I chuckled like that.
Yeah,
But I think
I'm
that
like,
it's because it's, I don't even know if it's in a stage. Like, it's so small of a thing that it can't be. And see, our thought process was like, take it out, have it taken out. Like Pop died from it, like just take it out. But his doctor is saying, that I think at this point it would like kind of like do more harm, or he just really doesn't feel like it's necessary to do that because it's literally like doing nothing. So yeah, I get, the watchful waiting, like in your mind, you're sitting here like, okay, so I'm like, it's just there and I know it's there. And in my mind, like I want it to be gone, but yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. So I feel you on that one.
so Shay,
They say walk because prostate cancer is a slow progressional cancer. It's not going to just be like, well, it's a small nodule and the next week is going to be 10 times as big. No, it's not. It grows very slowly. So watchful waiting, I do understand that. And while they're waiting and watching, I'm quite sure the doctor is maybe giving them some type of medication, helping him with his urinary retention, because I can only imagine that person probably is retaining some urine, maybe giving him some bone therapy, just things of that nature. With the watchful waiting, we're not just waiting and watching, we're also treating. I don't know if they gave your father any medication. A great one is called Prostate, that they give to patients that do have a history or have had. Have you ever taken that before, Lee? Prostate?
I'm trying to think because I did the radiation, but even before I started radiation, I started getting injections to contain the cancer, and that's what just concluded 2-3 weeks ago. When around the time of like 2 days before I met you, I had my last injection. So that was more about it. Basically is to contain the cancer in one place and keep it from, like you were saying about it moving around and moving through your body, how dangerous that is. That's what the whole point of the shot is to keep it there.
Is that the hormone therapy?
Kind of how it progresses.
Is that what the hormone therapy is? The shots to contain it and to keep it from spreading.
Right.
Okay.
And that's frustrating too. I like to work out, but you're not going to build any kind of muscle mass. You don't want to stop, but you want to. It's a lot of different, again, mind tricks to it. But you got to try to keep your life and stay as functional as possible when you're going through it. I'm blessed that I was in school, so I had that to kind of
focus on,
keep my on not dealing with this all the time.
Yeah.
But when you go 45 straight days and you're in that tube and you're thinking about your mortality, your kids, everything in your entire life, and it seems like an eternity when you're in here. And yeah, every day it can't. For me, I can't speak for anyone else. Again, it changed me as a person. And when I was there 3 weeks ago, I made a point of stopping and praying with the people that were going through it right now and talking to them because I knew, exactly what they were going through.
So, what other types of treatment have you tried, and were they successful? What was your method of treatment?
So for me, that was it. I had the injections every 2 months, and then this last year, it was every 3 months. And like I said, my last injection was roughly a month ago. So from now on, they say they want to check me again in 6 months, but I'll make sure I go back in 2 to 3 on my own to check my progress and make sure where my PSA count is. I can't leave that to them anymore. I made a mistake once.
Right.
You want to listen to your doctor, but by the same token, I left there and got a second opinion. Can I get my PSA count checked in a few months by you? And they're like, yes. So you have to be that progressive in your thinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Shay, one of my questions is this: so do they typically remove the prostate cancer?
It's something that can be done. If the prostate is large, they can give them radiation, which is like one of the most popular treatments for prostate cancer, or they can give them chemo to shrink it enough to where they can remove it as long as it has not metastasized, traveled through the rest of the body. Okay. Yeah, they can remove it laparoscopically. Yeah.
Okay. And so is that one of the cancers that can come back?
Oh, this cancer most definitely can come back. Yeah, that's why you keep checking the PSA levels.
That's a great question, and I was just to piggyback off of that. When the prostate is removed, do you know if that greatly reduces the chances of it coming back, or they don't know? I mean, I know that nothing is guaranteed, but I'm just saying, you know, you would think like with breast cancer, they remove the breast tissue and then it can still come back, but I think it's supposed to help your chances of it not coming back without that tissue being.
Removing the breast better your chances of not getting breast cancer. Removing both breasts lessens your chance. And an cancer, then it's best to remove both breasts. Okay. Now with the men in the prostate, I mean, it's something that it can come back again. Again, it's a slow progression. Cancer is so small that we cannot see it until it rears its ugly head. That's the only time that we're able to see it. So, you know, you can have a gentleman out there right now that does not have any signs and symptoms of cancer, and they could have like little small cells that's growing right now, but we can't see them. So yes, it can come back.
And not only do you not see them, but they're not symptomatic.
Yeah, and most of the times men are not symptomatic in the beginning. They're symptomatic when it's pretty much staged, like stage 2 or 3.
Yeah. And that's a big question that they ask you. They give you the choice between having the surgery or the radiation. And that's not a clear-cut thing. There's pros and cons to both. So it's something where I had to contact a lot of friends of mine that were nurses, get different opinions. And the biggest things were, you know, as far as the surgery, people said there were a lot more side effects. Some said there were none. So, yeah, I had to really think it through before just going with the radiation. The doctor said based on my symptoms, that would be, he saw I could recover 100% based on where I was at the time.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a key point, you know, that you just made in, you know, having to ask the right questions and, you know, really educate yourself on what truly is best, because I do believe that in my grandfather's case, that removing it is what kind of like caused it to spread, like it got worse after he got his actual prostate removed. So yeah, that is definitely, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because, you know, like I said, at least in my mind, my thought process will be, nope, just cut it out, get it out of there. You know what I mean? But I guess that's not always the best solution to it.
Yeah, I had a close friend that he chose to go the other route and have the surgery. And he was diagnosed like a year after I was. So we had a lot of conversations, and he said exactly what you said. Get this out of me, you know, just take it off. But then I also heard what you said, that sometimes, you know, sometimes it gets even worse after it's removed. So it's hard to really gauge. He talked to certain people, I talk to certain people. You know, it's not like it's all information is coming from one source.
Right.
So you really have to get out there and do your due diligence.
And that's got to be tough too, because the doctors are going to just provide you with all the information that they have, but they can't tell you, you know, what to do. Like they can't say, you know, you're probably asking them like, well, you know, what do you suggest? And you know, they just can't do that because it's just not an exact science. So you don't want to tell somebody, well, I highly suggest that you do this, and then things go south, you know. So
yeah, I switched hospitals because the hospital I went to initially, to me, they were focused on your sexual virility after cancer. Like that's all they were talking about mainly. Like, okay, you can do this or that as far as getting rid of the cancer, but hey, what are you going to do after sexually? And I'm like, dude, I don't even care about that right now. I'm trying to live. So
right.
I ended up leaving the hospital altogether, and at, you know, Baltimore VA Hospital, they focused on 100% trying to get you back, you know, to your healthiest self. And that, to me, that is the priority.
Most important, yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about after the diagnosis. So, you know, the support of family and friends, you know, having a support system is critical, you know, just to try to help patients regain a sense of normalcy, maintain their emotional stability, and improve their chances of ensuring a positive clinical outcome. So can you tell us a little bit about your, you know, support system, who they are, and what type of impact they, you know, have had during your personal journey?
Oh, and God has truly blessed me. So many things happened as far as my daughters rallying around me, my parents. My mother came up here a couple of times, you know, to be supportive. My aunt came up, my cousin came up. Like every few weeks, somebody else was coming up and staying with me and hanging out with me and just kind of helping me just kind of persevere and get from day to day. Because, yeah, I did get somewhat bummed out and depressed during that time, you know, because you're thinking, you know, am I going to be here? Because I didn't know I would be on the other side of this thing. But, you know, they were really supportive. And certain things, like the day I was supposed to start my radiation treatment, I was apprehensive about going. I was trying to come up with any excuse not to go. And then out of the blue, someone hits me up on Facebook, a high school friend, and it's just like, hey, handsome, how you doing? And then I just happened to spill my guts as to what was going on. We ended up praying together, talked on the phone for about an hour, and I got up and went to the appointment. So, you know, I didn't ask for that phone call. It kind of just happened. You know, I didn't ask my daughter to come with me. She said, I'm going. So, you know, God basically lifted me up and, you know, pulled me through the whole thing. So I'm leaning on that. That's what's, you know, got me through. My immediate family and just, and like I said, the hospital as well. Just being really open and constantly asking me questions. Are you still dealing with this? Are you still dealing with that? Making sure I was really mindful of, you know, the severity of my condition.
Wow.
Let's talk about sex after prostate cancer. I think a lot of men don't know, am I still able to have an orgasm after prostate cancer? You are.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lee. It has nothing to do.
Look, she's like,
yeah.
That came out of me before I even had a chance to stop it. So,
everything is still going to work. And look, thank you, Lee. Everything is still going to work after you go through chemo, radiation, the surgery. Everything will still work. Now, if it don't work, it's not that it was the prostate cancer. It's mental. Understand that. It's not the prostate cancer, it's mental. So when Lee say that, you know, he was getting into a state of depression, I mean, all of that causes stress. Yeah. Vasoconstriction. Okay? So of course you're not going to have an erection because your vessels are so constricted because you're stressed out. But you can still have sexual activity after prostate cancer. And I just wanted to bring that about before we ended the show because I know we're getting close to 8 o'clock.
Yes, yes.
There was a small part of me that wanted to say, you can, and just mess with you.
But that's good to hear that in there because that
is the biggest stigma in all of it is, you know, your sexual activity. What will you be able to do? I've had people just flat out ask me. I had other people distance themselves from me totally. That's the other thing. You find out who your friends are. You find out who's close to you for real, and you find out who was pretending the whole time. So, you know, it's an eye-opening experience on a whole bunch of levels.
It really is.
But you're better off for it because you want to know that's, you know, again, God stepping in and saying, you know, I'm going to clear the field for you. You know, I'm going to cut your grass for you. So you can see who is who and what is what. So,
absolutely.
You know, yeah.
Shay, before we come to our closing question, I have another question. As I was doing my research and reading, you know, different articles and things of that nature, I came across some information that I found puzzling. And so my question is this: tell me, what do you know about women and prostate cancer? Because I came across quite a few articles that said that women can get prostate cancer.
Women don't have a prostate.
That's what I was about to say, without a prostate.
And so when I was reading it, I'm like,
you can get ovarian. That's part of the male anatomy, which makes them men. But women don't have a prostate. We have fallopian tubes, we have ovaries, we have a uterus. I've never seen a prostate down there.
Listen, when I'm reading this, I'm thinking to myself, like, I know I'm no medical professional. And, I know I ain't go to no nursing school and no doctor and nothing like that. But they ain't got what we got, and we don't have what they have. So this is just not making sense to me. So thank you.
Playing a joke.
Unless they're trans. A lot of our trans men, look like women, and they will have prostate issues. So the only way they're going to get it unless they're trans. Sorry.
Well, okay, so that may explain. But I think that's something that they should have clarified.
Trying to help you out there. I'm like, that's the only thing I can think of. Like a woman call,
Right. All right, Lee, this is to you. So looking back in hindsight, is there anything that you would have done differently, or any advice that you would like to give to our viewers or anyone that is listening or that will catch the replay? What would you say to them as today, as you were looking back on yesterday?
Oh, just being internally vigilant in regard to your health, every aspect of your health. Mm-hmm. And we being African American, it's even more. It's a huge deal for us. You get into your 50s, and that's when it just hit me last week that my mom said something to me that I'm the same age as my uncle that passed from prostate cancer. I didn't even realize that. To me, it seemed like he was a lot older. But not right at 55, you have to keep up with everything all the time. Every little thing is serious. Going to the doctor and your health and is a part of your life. I make a point when I retired, I stopped working out all the time. Initially, you had to go to PT. I would play ball during the week. But once you retire and you're busy, you don't think about all those things. So now I make a point of going out and walking and lifting and working out. And the other thing is just staying away from a lot of the psychological stuff, like, what you were just talking about. There might be someone that think women have a prostate. You might have just educated somebody, because there's so much misinformation out there that, a lot of times I heard a little bit of everything with it. That's another reason I didn't want to tell anybody, because I would hear one thing from a doctor, two guys would be talking out front, and they're saying something totally different, so yeah, just educating yourself, being vigilant in regard to your health. And psychologically, stress is a huge contributor to prostate cancer, right? Your stress level. And at that time in my life, I had a ton of stress in my life. Making a career change. I've been in the military 23 years. Now I'm retiring. I'm starting something new. All of it, is on you all the time. And as men, we're kind of taught, hey, you take that on. That's a part of being a man. You don't sweat that stuff out. But it affects you, So I have a therapist now. I talk to people now. I'm way more vigilant about who I allow in my circle or close to me. You're not trying to go a certain way, then I can't ride with you. It gets that serious because everything comes back to what you're thinking and where your mind is. And it's insane the effect it can have on your body. It truly is. So. Yeah, you got to stay in control of that on every single level, spiritual, health-wise, and just your mental state.
Yep. Shay, you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that we pretty much covered everything. Sounds good. Yeah. Did we have any questions from anyone about anything?
Did you have anything there? I can't see what you see. Our producer in the background. Yeah, not a lot of, I guess this topic was really heavy, so I think people were more just listening and soaking it up. Yeah. And I think that I'm pretty sure that we'll have some questions on the back end and on the repeat or whatever. But this was a heavy topic. This was a deep topic. And I think what makes it so important is because the men are our foundation. Men are our foundation. And a lot of times it takes a good, strong woman behind them, pushing them. And so, like Lee, I heard you say your daughters were really, on you. Once they got the knowledge, something was going on, they were pushing you. And so I think that it is imperative to our women. I know that the men have to take responsibility and, be, aware and cognizant of what's going on with their bodies. But we as women, we also need to remind them, encourage them, let them know that it's okay to, say, I need help, I need support, I need guidance, I need some, some pushing. Lee said that he got a phone call. He didn't indicate that, he didn't say it was a female that he got the phone call from, but the person say, hey, handsome, how you doing? And so when he got that phone call, after having that conversation, he went ahead to his appointment. And so a lot of times it takes us as women to encourage the men around us. And so I think that is important to put that out there. So Lee,
I need to jump in here really quickly. I'm sorry, before we close, and I know we're running low on time, but we did have a question that we missed. Someone mentioned that you didn't say the location of the prostate, and I know because we went around it, and so now they're asking where is it located?
The prostate is located near it's located. I'm trying to make sure I explain this correctly because it can be a little confusing, okay? It's located up under the urethra, okay? The urethra is the tube that allows you to pee. So when it starts to swell, this is your urethra. So when it starts to swell, it presses up against the urethra, which causes the urethra to block off and not be able to expel the urine out like it's supposed to. So it's located up under your urethra, but located close enough to the anus to where we're able to go inside and feel for it. Sorry.
Thank you.
It was a comment on Sisters. I don't know if either one. I know, Keith, you watch Sisters. I don't know if you watch Sisters, Shay, but one of the characters, let's say, said something about liking to have his prostate tickled. So it's somewhere reachable. It is
very reachable, but you have to reach for it through a very undesirable place.
To each his own.
Right.
Gets it done. It doesn't bother me. I will glove up, lubricate quickly, and be like, let's go.
All right, on that note, we're gonna say goodnight. Lee, we want to thank you. We this has been so informative, and we just thank you that you have shared with us and with our viewers. We think it is very important that this is shared, that people are, sharing their story and their information, because it takes another brother to encourage another brother to do what they need to do. So we really want to say thank you for being our special guest tonight. And we pray that God will continue to bless you and continue to enlarge your territory, because I know that you are getting education and going to next levels. Brown, Fit for Life, girl, we love you. We appreciate you. We are so excited to be back in the swing of Victory Talk. And yes, Lee, he got the fly. So we're going to say good night. Thank you to our viewers. We love you. We appreciate you. Love you, Key. I am your host.
You too, and love y'all.
Lady J and Victory Talk. We will see you next week for our marriage edition.
Good night.
Good night.